Tottenham won the Europa League last year. Let that sink in. After 17 years without a trophy, Spurs beat Manchester United in the final in Bilbao, lifted silverware, and even secured Champions League football for the following season. That should have been the beginning of something massive. Instead, it was the last good thing that happened to this football club. Right now, Tottenham are sitting in the relegation zone. They have not won a single Premier League game in 2026. Not one. 3 managers have been hired and fired this season alone. And now, Roberto De Zerbi has just a few games to save them from something nobody wanted to say out loud. Their first relegation from the top flight in almost 50 years. How did a Europa League winner end up here? Let's break it down. To understand where Tottenham are right now, you have to go back to last season. Ange Postecoglou had just done the impossible. Spurs finished 17th in the Premier League, with 22 defeats in a single campaign, and still somehow walked away with the Europa League trophy, beating Manchester United 1-0 in Bilbao. First European silverware in 41 years. Fans were on the streets. It felt like the dawn of a new era. And then, 16 days later, Daniel Levy sacked him. Yep, sacked the man who just ended a 17-year trophy drought. If you ever needed one moment to sum up the chaos at Tottenham over the past decade, that is it. In comes Thomas Frank from Brentford. Great reputation, attractive football, steady hands on paper. It made all the sense in the world. On the actual pitch, what began with promise quickly unravelled into a disappointing campaign. Frank's Tottenham could barely put together a coherent 45 minutes of football, let alone a full 90. By November, the team was being dismantled by Chelsea and Arsenal. Fans turned. Protests started. The board waited and waited, and when they finally sacked Frank in February, the season was already beyond saving. Then comes Igor Tudor, a stopgap appointment, brought in just to hold things together until the summer. He lasted 44 days, 7 games, 1 point from 5 Premier League matches. His time at the club included a catastrophic 7-5 aggregate defeat to Atletico Madrid in the Champions League. And then, like clockwork, he was gone too. 3 managers, 1 season. Here is where the numbers get genuinely dark. Spurs have not won a single Premier League game all year in 2026. They have picked up just 6 points from the last 45 available. Their 15-game winless streak in the league is 1 match away from the club's all-time worst record, a record that goes back to 1934. Only 2 teams in Premier League history have had a longer winless run to start a calendar year. Derby County in 2008 and Sunderland in 2003. Both were relegated. For the first time in 49 years, Tottenham are in the relegation zone this deep into a season, in the same position they were in before being sent down in 1977. This is not a rough patch. This is a full-blown identity crisis. Here is what makes this appointment different from the last 2. De Zerbi did not sign a short-term deal. He signed a 5-year contract, not a survival deal, not a let's see how it goes arrangement. 5 years. That tells you exactly what Tottenham are actually trying to build here. This was not panic. This was a statement. Spurs sporting director Johan Lange had already laid out the club's vision clearly earlier this season. He talked about wanting a team that dominates possession, controls matches, presses high, and plays football that excites supporters. Go ahead and read that back. That is basically a job description written specifically for Roberto De Zerbi. De Zerbi's system is built around a 4-2-3-1 shape with an aggressive high press, short build-up play starting from the goalkeeper, and fullbacks who push forward to stretch the opposition wide. His number 10 and centre-forward interchange constantly, creating space through the midfield. At Brighton, he turned a mid-table club into one of the most attractive teams in European football. At Marseille, he kept building on that reputation before leaving in February this year. And here is something most people do not know. Tottenham actually tried to sign De Zerbi back in February when they first sacked Thomas Frank. He was not ready then. He needed time before jumping into another job, so Spurs had to settle for Tudor as a stopgap. When Tudor failed, they went straight back for their first choice. That tells you exactly how much this club believes in what De Zerbi can offer. This is not just a managerial change. Tottenham have spent years lurching from one appointment to the next with no clear idea of what kind of football club they want to be. Mourinho, Nuno, Conte, Postecoglou, Frank, Tudor, every single one of them brought a completely different style and a completely different identity. De Zerbi, with a 5-year deal, is Spurs finally picking a direction and committing to it. That is new. That is genuinely different. And whether they survive this season or not, the era of short-term thinking at this club may finally be over. All right, here is the reality check nobody wants to give. De Zerbi walked into this job knowing full well it was a rescue mission. His beautiful possession football means nothing if Spurs drop into the Championship. So right now, he is keeping things simple, not overloading the players with tactical complexity. Just fight, press, compete, and grind. His first game was away at Sunderland, a loss, not a proper start. His first home game? Against Brighton, of all teams. The stadium was bouncing. Pedro Porro opened the scoring. Then, in the 77th minute, Xavi Simons picked up the ball and curled in an absolute worldie. The crowd went wild. For one brief moment, it felt like the clouds were parting. And then stoppage time. Jorginho Rutter, 2-2. Absolute heartbreak. That is honestly peak Tottenham 2026 right there. Few games to go. Spurs sit 18th, just a point from safety. And while the situation looks desperate, the run-in offers a mix of opportunity and danger. Then there is Aston Villa away, who are chasing Champions League football, and Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, which is terrifying on paper. But with several winnable games still to come, the path to survival is still there. The question is whether they can finally take it. De Zerbi himself is not interested in doubt. He told his players to come to training with a smile and the right attitude, or go home immediately. No sad faces, no negativity. For a squad that has been completely demoralised for months, that kind of leadership might be exactly what they need. The performances are already improving. De Zerbi is clearly getting something out of this squad. The question is whether they can finally hold on and win a game. They have blown leads in 5 consecutive matches. That is not a quality problem. That is a mental problem. And if De Zerbi can fix that in 5 games, Tottenham will survive. If he cannot, this great historic football club drops out of the Premier League for the first time since 1977. The stakes could not be higher. Tottenham went from Europa League winners to fighting for their Premier League lives in under 12 months. It is chaotic, dramatic, and honestly, a little bit tragic. But with De Zerbi in charge and a clear identity finally being built, this might just be the moment where the real Tottenham story, the good one, finally begins.